He goes by the name Bashar.
That's right. That's right, Bo. That's exactly right, Bashar. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Aligning with Success. It is, what is it, January the 20-something? I lose track of time.
29th. I know.
29th.
No,
My goodness.
25th.
25th. That's it. 25th. we're all lost in the cosmos over here as I'm floating in space. Well, listen, I hope you had a chance to plug into at least some, if not all, of this weekend's first inaugural event, our quarterly event, Master Day, which is what is the quarterly event, I think is what we call it. Anyway, I thought it went really, really well. Obviously, from my point of view, from being one of the co-presenters, and there were a number of you on the call here tonight who were contributors, and I thought it was a really good first experience of how to work with Nikan, put a program together, create some content, and give us something to look forward to where we can gather and give more life and expectancy to this thing called the Nikan Global Wellness Community. And so the more we do this, the better it is. The more we come together as a community and celebrate the community, the better it is. I love my favorite part was the recognition of people. That's always my favorite. Just take a few minutes here if anybody wants to jump in and just say a few things. I do have some stuff I want to get into because it really relates to my talk on at this event that seemed to light up a few people. So anybody want a comment or two about this past event? What would you recommend to somebody maybe listening to tonight's call as a playback who wasn't on the event?
It was a great call. I agree with you. I like the testimonials. Always facts tell, but stories sell. It's why we do what we do. So yeah, they were great.
Totally agree with that.
It was a wonderful example of collaboration of corporate and training and fun and products and business, all of it together, but that interplay between corporate, the field, and customers. Yeah, all parts of the community.
Fantastic.
It was nice to meet Sean Everett. I didn't know him, but he's a superstar.
Yeah, great guy. I've had a chance to actually meet with him in private. And he's just a real sincere, uplifting guy and just really dedicated to his craft, which obviously is topping the charts. If you saw the recognition, he was in every one practically. And I believe he was our #1 volume for 2020 PGV volumes. So congratulations to him. We'll have to get him on one of our calls and maybe he can share a little bit of his insights. I'm gonna have to remember that. I'll do that.
I love that.
Anyone else?
I was really impressed with the many testimonials, and Christian really touched my heart. And what I learned from him is do not ever make assumptions. We know that in our head, but we saw it with him. And I met Christian in Toronto, had no idea he had a story like that. Wise beyond his years because of experiences. And he was one of my biggest takeaways, because what it tells me is be more open and more level field, no matter who you're working with. I know that in my head, but we have to play it out, do it. So Christian, you're my hero, man. Thank you.
And the way they did the storytelling, kind of tying into what we learned with Liva Say, the knowing Barbara Joseph as well as I do, that story, now I could just see her riding that bicycle, and that's so much her. And she did fast forward to the future, connected that past. It was perfect. Yeah, the stories were really very good.
Well, excellent. Okay. Unless there's another one or two, I do want to move on to what I have for you tonight.
Michael, I'd just like to say that, what happened on Saturday was the vision that many of us, you included, I think, that we've held to be this collaborative with corporate, playing together, working together, visioning together. And it was like a dream come true for me.
Awesome. For the sake of giving us the words or the nomenclature to describe it. We refer to this as the rhythm of the business. So we now have a Nikan rhythm of the business, which, by the way, they've been following and have an incredible rhythm going in Latin America. So we know with rhythm comes the ability to create greater and greater waves or amplitude. So this is a foundational year for establishing the rhythm in North America and in Europe, which can only progress and give us greater heights. Well, for those of you who were on the presentation, you know, I did a presentation called My Three Keys, and I broke it down into three very specific things: focus, decide, and do it. And I wanted to elaborate a little bit more about that because, and I told you that I would be a little bit more discerning about the concept of beliefs. So this call is called Aligning with Success for a reason. It has been really the study of my life. My life's work is progressing and how do you say that word? It's coming together or coalescing into this subject of how we create our own experience in life. And Nikan being such a beautiful vehicle because it's a vehicle that really can allow us to experience the best of life. Within the context of Nikan, there aren't the normal limitations that would otherwise limit people's ability to express. And I'll give an example, a simple example, but maybe not the best, but you know, in the corporate environment, for instance, for the longest time, there's been this glass ceiling for women. And so regardless of your talent and ability, this glass ceiling seemed to limit women's ability to be expressed at the highest levels of corporations and so forth, politics and whatnot. Of course, those are starting to get shattered, but that idea that those limitations exist in structures, in corporations, in the workplace, et cetera, Nikan sort of strips us away of all of that. It's the undoing of all of those limitations and really creates an even playing field for anyone to become as uneven as they like, as Dave Johnson would say. So I love the fact that Nikan is the vehicle through which we get to actually apply these principles and see them unfold unbridled, not interfered with from a political agenda or other things. So it's a real test of where you're at in your development as a creator, as a co-creator of your experience. And so that's one of the reasons why I think I came to play here in Nikan, and why the topic that I seem to center around is this topic of how we learn to become conscious creators, so that the experience that we have is ever unfolding in a way that is reflective of the kind of life that we really want to experience. But there's a reason why we don't. Or there's self-imposed limitations that are actually blocking us. And in Nikan, we can uncover that because we know it's not Nikan. It's not the business we're in that's blocking us. And because there are so many examples of success, great reflections of success from different points of view, different people, different points of view, it gives us the ability to really evaluate, do self-examination. And the whole concept of personal development and humans being more becomes real and viable in Nikan. So that has been my personal endeavor, to really unfold this thing called humans being more, unpack it, and give you some tools that you can apply in your personal experience and see your business grow from that. So the idea of focus, of course, is to focus on what you really, really want. Most people spend the majority of their time, whether it's conscious or unconscious, thinking about and emotionalizing what they don't want. So if this is what you're broadcasting, regardless of the situation you're in or the potential of the situation you're in, you're going to create the reality that you're going to create. And so we want to get control of our thought process, our feelings, our emotions, We want to become somebody who's consciously aware of what we're thinking and feeling, and not simply thinking and feeling as a consequence of what's going on around us, but we're choosing, becoming conscious and choosing our thoughts and our feelings, which govern everything in terms of what experience we're going to have, regardless of how great this opportunity is. So I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about, choosing, focusing on what you want. What I'm going to tell you is absolutely science-based and has been verified in laboratories around the world in the highest levels. And I study these studies, quantum physics and the quantum reality. We are now really aware that our physical reality is not is a result of consciousness. Our body doesn't create consciousness. It's consciousness that creates our body. Our body, our physical doesn't create consciousness. It's the consciousness that creates the physical world. And this is a fact, and it's become a known fact by most people in the, let's call it the upper levels of science, that consciousness is what's doing all the creating. And this concept of time and space is actually an illusion or consequence of consciousness, and consciousness shifting from one picture to another. Let me give you an example what I mean by that. If you're watching a film, whether it's on TV or at a movie theater, what is a film in actuality? If you actually went up to the thing and looked at it, before I guess it was digital, but it's the same thing, digital. It's a series of pictures, one after the other. And you can stop the film and look at one picture, and there's nobody moving in that picture. It's just a still photo. And then the next photo is, and then the next photo is, and then the next photo is. And so we see this transition, and because the photos move very quickly, and the way our eyes work at about 28 to 32 frames a second, which is what is happening on your screen in front of you right now, it looks pretty much continuous, but it's not continuous. It's actually, oh, that's interesting. My screen just went green behind me. Did you notice that? That's weird. I didn't do that. Okay, I've got no virtual backgrounds. Okay, cool. We're gonna see me in green then tonight.
Maybe you did do it, Mike.
Maybe
It
I
was
did
your
do it.
thoughts.
When I did this, yeah. Okay, come back. So the idea of as we are seeing these images one after the other, it looks like continuity or continuous flow, but it's really just one image after the other. And that's how our mind works. That's how consciousness works. It's just one image after the next, and it appears continuous, and that's what gives us the impression of time. But the actual flicker rate, they've actually studied, it's called the Planck constant, the flicker rate of the universe, the actual on-off, on-off, on-off of these sequence of our mind moving through consciousness has actually been measured and quantified as the Planck rate. So think about it. Our mind is like a computer. Just like the computer that is in front of you, there's a picture in your mind, and it's flickering, it's going through many different iterations, and it looks like continuity. It looks like time. It looks like we're living a life. And yet it's actually the side effect of our mind shifting from one perspective to another, to another, to another, to another, to another, and sometimes it's back and forth. Okay, so that's one fundamental. The other fundamental is, think about you're at a or you're watching television. When you change channels, does the program on the previous channel stop? No, it keeps going. And when you switch back, you'll see that it's continued even though you haven't been watching it. Now imagine for a moment that every version of yourself in the quantum field of all possibilities, every version of yourself is happening. But all you're doing is switching from one version to the next. Sometimes you come back. What you take with you into the next version of yourself is memory. You take with you your history. So you drag that with you into your new channel. Even though it's a different program, even though if it's a different plot, even though you may be a different character in this plot, you're still dragging with you the past. And so you bring that past and recreate that past in this new experience. And that's what we consider our story. we bring the continuity of our past with us, even though it's perfectly arbitrary. Because at the end of the day, what is our past? Behind us. The only thing that's happening is what's right here and right now. Okay, so what's the significance of this? Well, if our consciousness, what we focus on, what channel we choose to play is what we're going to experience on the screen of our life, but we're dragging the past with us, does it affect how we're experiencing the current reality? Does it influence the future reality? Especially if we tell ourselves over and over again that we're not that person. We're not that person. We're dragging the past, which is not that person. So here you are trying to create a new reality, but you're dragging the person who's not that person with you. Your old identity. You're taking your old identity into the new identity, and it's conflicted. Guess which one wins? The more dominant
One.
The more dominant one is
Yeah,
going to
the
win.
more than-
Yeah. So this is where belief comes in. So first and foremost, we need to shift frequency in terms of what is it that we want. We need to get in touch with what we want. Now, I talked about the difference between what you want in your head and what you want in your heart. Here's what I've learned. You have a unique experience to have on this planet. And the only way to uncover it, unfold it, is to chase your passion. It's the only way. Infinitesimal moments in time when you pursue your passion on a moment-to-moment basis, you are actually in alignment with your true self, the true nature of yourself. And do we know passion? Have we ever experienced passion? Do we know the feeling that courses through our body when we are in alignment with our passion? And your body's reaction is a clue. How you feel is the absolute clue that you know it's the right thing, because your frequency is going to be off the charts. Your body is resonating with such an intensity that's how you know you actually tuned into the channel called you, the real you. And until that moment, there was some version of you that you were playing out. Your dad's version, your mom's version, your upbringing's version, your religion's version, whatever version, but not the you that was really destined to be here on this planet at this time. So your passion is your governor. It's your key. It's you're on the right track. And these moments of passion are sporadic but they're sensible, and they come into play, and you just have to follow it. If you become somebody who becomes very aware of your sense of passion, and it could be a person you meet, it could be a circumstance you're in, these are moments. And if you move in the direction of that passion, trusting that is your guidance, your internal guidance system, that's your divining rod, that's your true north, then you're going to start to experience what goes with being that true self, joy. You're going to start to experience the things that are coming into your life that are necessary for you to move your life in the direction you want it to go. Your true want, your true desire, your heart's desire. So, we might think about that a little bit and ask ourselves, what do we really, really want? I wrote something down over here that I'm going to get to, I guess, when we get to beliefs about this, because what's going to happen is your beliefs start to jump in. Your beliefs start to jump in because it may not be the norm. It may not be the condition you were expected to be or to do. So the next step from deciding what you want, which is to connect with your heart. So what has Nikken got to do with this? It's a vehicle. Saturday should show you that there's a lot of people experiencing joy and vibrancy and aliveness because they're involved in Nikken. Nikken is a vehicle that allows the unfolding of this passion. But you've got to get connected to the passion, because if you're just doing this with your head alone is not going to be enough to keep you in it or to keep you moving in the direction of success. There needs to be more than your head in this. If you want to really experience all that this has to offer, your heart's got to be in it. And so what does it look like if your heart's in it? Let me show you something. I got a bunch of stuff lined up here. Share screen. Okay, we're going to share this one first. So you may remember I covered this a few weeks ago. The idea of aligning. How does it come about? You know, we're born into a family, into a structure, into a socioeconomic situation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And in that environment, our first 3 to 6 years, we're told what to believe to be true. We're told what to believe to be true about others. We're told what to believe to be true about the world around us. We're told what to believe to be true about ourselves. You're an idiot. You always make a mess. We're told what to believe to be true. And most of the things that we accept because we want to be accepted, especially at that tender young age, especially when we're so dependent on the people around us, we basically adopt the beliefs. Whether we believe in them or not at first, we just simply accept them because it's either that or you're fighting all the time. So we have internal beliefs that in the end, we feel certain things about those beliefs. If I said money, and I ask you, tune into your feeling about money, you're going to feel something. That feeling is going to conjure up some thoughts. Those emotions are going to conjure up some thoughts. And so I could say that about a lot of things. We can bring up the subject of network marketing, Nikan, the products, the waterfall, the compensation plan. I can throw everything at you, and with each word, I can ask you to tune into what you feel about that, and then what are the thoughts that come up as a result of those feelings? Optimism, excitement, enthusiasm, or dread, or fear. Your ability to contact and invite people. What do you believe about that? What does that cause you to feel? What do you think about? According to those beliefs, we start to behave, and in our behavior, we produce results. And what I've seen time and time again is most people, especially by their in their adult years, are not living at all the way they imagined their life would be when they were a young kid growing up. Their vision and what their results are so diametrically opposed that most people become extremely dissatisfied, disillusioned, and then they start to believe that it's them and that, you know, other people are lucky. They start to create labels around why they're not happy, why they're dissatisfied, and they start to project that onto others and create blame. And so we live in a world where people blame everything outside of themselves for what's going on and not really looking where they need to look, because the solution is at hand. They can course correct so quickly and so easily. Now, purpose is something you rarely actually hear. It's only like maybe the last 5 or 10 years you're getting a lot of talk about purpose, and it's still not the vernacular in school. Your kids aren't, if you've got kids in school or grandkids in school, you know they're not being taught purpose. But this is where it all begins. The creative process begins with, what is your true innate purpose? Your true innate purpose can look a myriad of different things. We all as human beings have a very similar purpose. It's to experience the best in life, to get the most out of life, and to grow and experience the richness of life and enrich ourselves in the depth of that. It looks different for everybody. Everybody's got some person might get a real bang out of playing the bass. Ask Bo Tanis how kicking ass the bass is, because that at one point in time was a real big thing for him. Our vision of what it looks like is not always the same, but our purpose for the most part is the same. And it is to really fulfill and self-actualize in these areas that Nikan has very cleverly defined as the way we live life, through our body, our mind, our family, our society, and our resources. So purpose, let's just say for all intents and purposes, is the same for everybody, but it looks different. So when I say define what you want, I'm talking about what does it look like for you to live the purpose that you want to live, to be on purpose, to be in alignment with the fulfillment of your purpose. What does it look like for you? I held up my life cycle plan, and I've got more than one, obviously, but it's really interesting to go back to my first and to see how many of the things on my life cycle plan have actually happened. And it's actually quite remarkable how many of these things have actually happened. But most certainly, you know, for instance, the island that I talked about here in the Caribbean, this particular island, well, this one says Aguila and St. Bart's. I didn't live there. I lived in Barbados, which is not far from there. So in other words, you may be able to put it in a photograph of what it looks like, but it's only a representation, right? You want to get some things though that represent what does it look like? What it will be because you will be pursuing your passion. It will unfold as to what it is. And you know what I'm going to promise you? I'm going to promise you this. It'll be better than what you imagine. Because what you imagine is using your human mind, but your spiritual mind, which is far greater and knows you far better, knows what's best and will put you on the path of what's best if you follow its prompts. And its prompts are the emotions you feel when you're feeling your passion. Those are the prompts. That's the big mind, the big you, the higher power saying, that's what I was talking about. That's the road you need to be on. Keep going, keep going. You follow those prompts and you will start to experience the unfolding of these things that you want in better ways than you even imagined. There isn't a magazine that can define the picture that best represents your highest intention, your heart's desire. So that's the prompts. Now, let me work our way back to what is the cause of this? It's what we believe to be true. What we believe to be true about ourselves. If we could discard all the beliefs that are getting in the way of our passion, if we could just ditch them, like if there was a magic wand and boom, we could be zapped and we're a nobody. We get to start fresh like a baby in an adult's body, but we know how to walk, we know how to eat, we know how to do all these other things, but we don't know who we are. We just know what we love. Imagine that. So here's a question I want you to get used to asking yourself. What would I have to believe to be true? What would I have to believe is true about myself in the present situation in order to feel, think, behave the way I do? So when you come into a situation that maybe is causing a negative feeling, okay? So become alerted. The fact that you're having a negative feeling is meaning we're now running up against a belief that's actually working against where we need to be moving. This negative behavior may be a consequence, or these negative thoughts or these negative emotions. We need to trace them back to the belief that we're hosting because it stands in the way of what we want. And this is where we need to start to become the masters of the universe. Become the master of your thoughts, feelings, your emotions, and of course, your behavior as a consequence. So what would I have to believe is true about myself in this present situation in order to be thinking or feeling or behaving the way I am? So if I said to you, how many calls did you make today? If I asked you that question, how many new contacts did you make today? If I put any one of you on the spot, immediately there's going to be an emotion. Immediately there's going to be an emotion. If I singled anyone out right now, I called your name out, boom, there's going to be an emotion. Right now you're all worried that I might pick one of you. But immediately there's going to be an emotion. Now ask yourself, what do I have to believe to be true about myself to be feeling this emotion? That thought, that feeling, that belief that you have identified is false. It's a false belief. That belief needs to be replaced, needs to be discarded and replaced. So let's say the belief is, oh, I don't know, I'm ashamed because I didn't make the calls I said I was going to make. Shame. Whoa, that's the worst. So now you feel shame. is this really who you are, or is this just something a robe you're wearing right now? Who are you really? Well, it's not shame. So what if we just replace that with, I have no shame. I am who I am, and I'm proud of who I am. What would be the belief that you would have to not feel that feeling, to replace that feeling with something positive and uplifting? This is what I want you to then write down as an affirmation. This is the thing you're going to carry around with you, like I carried around my goal card as an affirmation. I'll tell you what's on my goal card, which handled pretty much everything. Right there, you can see it. This is the real goal card. This is my Royal Diamond goal card in my hand. It's broken. Everything's cracked because I've been carrying it forever. Here it is. It says right there, faith of a mustard seed. That's on my goal card. That was my reminder to myself to cancel out all the BS thoughts and feelings that I would have, that I would conjure up when something didn't go the way I planned. Okay? I had my prompt. I had my mechanism, the button I would push, the thing you would do that cancels out that feeling, that emotion, that thought that's working against you, coming up from a belief that's not who you are, but somewhere, down the road or in your past, you adopted it and you keep carrying it with you into this new version of yourself. You can conjure up an image of what you want life to be like, but you bring all that crap with you in that version. Well, that person is not experiencing that life. So we got to lose it. We got to lose the guy you've been. We got to lose the guy you've been. And we got to become the person that is living that life. And when is it that we have to do that? There's only one time, right now. So we've got to bring that version of yourself into present reality. We need to bring that version of the person who believes the beliefs that they believe that are in alignment with what you want to create, and discards all the ones that are jumping up, trying to stop you from being your natural self. So it's a tool that can help you maybe become more proactive in dealing with the negative emotions that are going to jump in your path. Let me share something else with you. So this is a really cool image. Oops. There we go. Okay, you should see on your screen right now a flat Earth and a round Earth. Now, here's something I've learned. I talked about there's an infinite number of there's actually an infinite number of planets right now. And we all keep saying we want to change the world. We want to change the world. Well, it doesn't work that way. Just like the television channel, when you change the station, the program doesn't change, the one you've left. It keeps going the way it's going. The only change that can happen is the change in perspective. The world actually doesn't change. The world you're living in right now is static. The only thing that can change is your perspective. Let me give you an example. Is the world flat or is the world round? Well, if I'd asked this question 1,000 years ago, the answer would have been unanimous. It's flat. And for all intents and purposes, it might as well have been flat, because we could never imagine a world where we're living in today based on the fact that it's round. We could never even imagine the idea of circumventing the globe. We couldn't imagine the idea of sending a satellite into orbit. None of these things are things that could be conceived of in the mind of an individual if they held the belief that the world was flat. In fact, they would fear falling off the edge. This is real. This happened. This was the way the world was. Now, did the world transform? Did it change shape? If somebody was in outer space 1,000 years ago, would they have seen a flat Earth?
No.
No. The world did not change. But the world changed for everybody when we changed our mind about what we believe to be true about the world. So this is an example of how mass consciousness works, but within mass consciousness is the individual. What do you believe to be true about your world, about your life, about your happiness, about your health, about your wealth? What if those beliefs are wrong? You can see now how relevant beliefs are. Beliefs are what determine what's possible for you. They don't determine what's true and what's false. They just determine what's possible for you. This is why this is a really important subject. If you don't believe in your ability to succeed or to live abundantly with a healthy body, with energy and vitality, if you don't think that's in the cards for you, this is my lot in life, right? How many expressions of this ridiculous belief? If it's true that I can just change the channel, adopt a new reality and discard the old, and it's true that that new reality has its own past, has its own future potential, then I don't have to drag the memory of who I think I was into this new future reality. Can you imagine if we tried right now living on planet Earth, but dragging around the memory of it being a flat Earth? I mean, how would this work? At some point in time, we had to let it go in order to move on to that new reality. And we did it collectively, but it was a hard go. At one point in time, the church was against anybody who would declare such a heresy. I mean, you had everybody against you. And here we are today. And if I asked the same question, everybody would swear the world was round. Because we have new information, we have new insights, we have new awareness, and it's new awareness that allows us to see a new truth. But the world itself, the physical thing we refer to as planet Earth, did not change. So there's nothing about the Earth that needs to change. What needs to change is our perception, and that can only change through awareness. So if you start to become aware of what you're feeling, what you're thinking, especially when it's negative, you can then identify by asking the question, what would I have to believe to be true about myself to be feeling this way? And here what comes up: shame, fear, doubt. Oh, well, that makes sense. So I'm feeling shameful. I'm feeling doubtful in my ability and so forth. That's the memory of the past. And now you have a choice. You have a moment in time now where you can choose a new reality. You can discard or accept that truth. But when you become conscious and you can consciously choose to discard beliefs that are not supportive of the reality you are now choosing to live, that's when you become a master creator. And what starts to fall into shape is everything associated with the frequency of that new person. It's the old person you're dragging with you that's keeping you from experiencing your new reality. Now, that's not to say that that person doesn't have some positives. We want to drag those positives in, sure, but we want to discard what's not supportive of the new reality. And how do I know what's supportive of the new reality or not? It's either making me feel like I'm on purpose, it's making me feel like I'm living my passion, or it's creating feelings and emotions that are contrary to that. My feelings is what helps me determine whether I'm on track or not. So getting in touch with your feelings becomes everything, because it is the language of the universe, quite literally. Let's see, the last thing was do it. That was the third thing. So focus, decide, do it. So the decision is an instant in time. It's a choice. And the thing is, you're going to be confronted with that choice every minute of every day. I suggest you make the decision to live the way you want to live once, but the choices are to stay in alignment with that decision. Have any of you had somebody join your business and 15 minutes later tell you they're quit, or they're stepping back or whatever? Anybody have that experience? I had that this week. It happens. So
Yes.
so what do you take it personally?
No.
Do you say, well, that's a reflection of me, I must be a terrible sponsor or whatever? No. I mean, most of us on this call have enough knowledge of that. But some of you who may be new listening to this message for the first time, you might be like, yeah, I felt really terrible. I felt like maybe I failed them somehow. I felt like, well, get in touch with that feeling. Okay, so you're feeling terrible. Maybe like you feel like maybe you failed them. What would you have to believe to be true about yourself to feel that way? Think about it. What a powerful question, because what it does is it allows something to surface to the surface. This thing is undermining you constantly, and we've got to root it out. So when you're feeling that negative, when you're feeling that block, ask the question, what do I have to believe to be true about myself or others that's causing me to think and feel this way or to behave this way? And now you have a tool that allows you to listen to the answer. And now I get the answer. How do I deal with the answer? I replace it. I write an affirmation that says, that's not who I am. That is not who I am. That guy, that person, that person's in the past, different channel, different universe. We live in parallel universes. That one I left. I turned the station to this one. This is the new one. This is the one that I want. And what's in alignment with this are these thoughts, these feelings, and these actions. Those ones are in alignment with some other universe that I no longer want to be a part of. Now, I'm talking to you about multiple universes, but I'm serious as a heart attack. We literally live in a universe where, a multiverse, where every reality is happening simultaneously. Every reality is happening simultaneously. Every version of you is happening simultaneously. Here's what it looks like. You remember the pool analogy? I threw rocks in the pool and make splash. Do you know that if you could throw enough rocks into the pool to create every known frequency, all at the same time, that the pool would be absolutely still? If I played a guitar with every possible way of strumming a note, there would be no sound. Even though there would be so many guitars, an infinite number of guitars playing, there would actually be no sound. So, because the one wave goes like this while the other one goes like that, and they crash and they cancel each other out. And if you got that an infinite number of ways, at the end of the day, there's no sound. There's just stillness. So when we talk about be still, what you're tuning into is the all. What you're tuning out is the finite. Your thoughts are infinitesimally small in comparison to the entire thoughts of the universe. So you tune out of your small self and you tune into your big self, which is the totality of all that there is. That's what meditation is all about. So if all of these frequencies are happening at the same time, every version of you is happening at the same time, and what you are experiencing in this reality right now, this night, this day, this year, last year, what you're actually experiencing is the channel you're tuned into. And all you have to do is change the station and experience a new reality. And with that new reality, you have to let the memory of the past go. And a little tool that I gave you just now of how to challenge that. I want to show you one thing. I've asked you guys to look at this, and I'm going to show you this right now. Because it's probably the most powerful thing I've seen. Let me make sure that this works. Does anybody know what I have to do to make sure a video plays properly? I have to click on anything here. Maximize something. I know there's a way of doing that, but hopefully it's already done.
Do it.
Pardon me?
Do it.
Okay, well, let's just try this. Okay, so I've told you about a guy who I pay attention to, and he went and he was doing a seminar in Milan, Italy. This is 2007. He's in the seminar and he's showing something. And I want to show you this because I've told you to look at this. I don't know that you have, but if you see this, then I can comment on this. Because
And then put your volume on high.
I have to put my volume on high. Just share
Yeah.
the video and put my volume on high. Tell me if you can hear the sound.
Not yet.
Okay, so
Hear
you did not hear the sound, right?
Audio.
Pardon me?
Computer
No.
audio. You need computer audio.
Yes, there's a way to do this. So share computer sound, optimize screen for video clip. There we go. All right, here we go.
When we have a feeling in our hearts,
Yes.
we're creating electrical
Can you
and
hear it?
magnetic waves
Yes.
inside of our bodies that extend beyond our bodies into the world around us. And what's so interesting is the research shows that those waves extend not just 1 meter or 2 meters, many, many kilometers beyond where our heart physically resides. So right now in this room is having an effect on Italy beyond this building, beyond these walls. And you'll see this afternoon when many, many people get together with one feeling, many hearts come together and create one feeling, it can change the world, and you'll see just how much. But it's only a miracle until we understand the science. Then it's no longer a miracle, it becomes a technology, a powerful internal technology. So this film was created in a medicineless hospital in Beijing, China. Medicineless hospital, no medicine hospital. I like that hospital. This film shows a woman who has been diagnosed with a cancer in her bladder, a 3-inch diameter cancer in her bladder, and Western doctors say they can do nothing. They say, we can't help you. So she has gone to a clinic in China where they think differently, and they apply the technology from the ancient wisdom that is the same as the science that we just saw. So what you will see is this. There are 3 practitioners, 3 people trained to feel just the right feeling, the precise, correct feeling in their hearts. They create the feeling as if the woman is already healed. They create the feeling as if the woman is already healed. Now we will look inside of her body through a sonogram, through ultrasound. We can look into her body and we can watch her cancer disappear in 3 minutes in the presence of the language that heals. Does that make sense? Are you okay with that? Does that make sense? Would you like to see that? Okay, good. So what you will see is the woman is awake, she is conscious, she has no anesthetic, she believes in the process, she believes in what is happening. And there are 3 practitioners who are trained to create the feeling in their bodies as if the woman is already healed. And then on the computer screen, we will see 2 images. One image is before the healing, and one image is actual time, real time, so we can see the healing happen. And while the healing is happening, you will hear the practitioners chant a word. And I want you to know there is no magic in the word. It could be any word. But this word is the word that they have chosen that reinforces for them, that tells them the feeling. So they agreed that this is the word that would create the feeling for them. But it could be any word. I want you to know that. So I'm explaining this now, and we'll explain it again as we go through the film.
Over 8 years, the center has successfully treated more than 180 types of illnesses, including bladder cancer.
看到了没有？就是在这个膀胱，三角球的左侧，和一个压壶，这么一个。法器，各位老师，咱们一块用你俩法器。
遥控听人画画画三三画三画三画三画三画三，小了画三画对三画三画三，看那个看得下去了，学习放松。人就想着一下就彻底散放松，你放松啊，老师在这儿三沟通三画三。 小了，站正，好，画三，没了，再站正，画三，没了，好，没了，画三，没了，三，消除场，三，没了，把场打破，没了，好了，没了，好了，二不好意思，能看出来，这是您几秒？ 现在10分钟下来，那个就1分钟哈，60分钟那个上来，好，没了，好的。
Let me talk about what you just saw because he goes into this explanation. You did see it, right? Okay. If you want to find it on YouTube, you can look up Greg Braden Curing Cancer. And you can see the rest of it. He's just going to explain what you saw. What you saw was 2 images. The first image, which would have been on the left side, was a still image using an ultrasound device, and you could see the block, that mass inside of the woman's cavity. The black cavity is the bladder, and there was this mass inside the bladder. That was the tumor. Then they took the still image of that, so that's the still frame of the shot, and then the camera on the right was the real time. Again, holding the same ultrasound, they were looking at it in real time, and at first they were identical, but then they began this process, and then you see this bladder tumor fade and goes in 2 minutes and 45 seconds. So what you experienced there was they went from one reality to another reality. We witnessed 2 very different realities. In one reality, the woman has this bladder tumor, and in the other reality, she does not. And it took them 2 minutes and 45 seconds to transition from one channel to the other channel. They changed stations. They changed from one reality to the other reality. Both realities exist. But what was happening was they had to move consciousness. They had to change pictures in their mind and in their feelings in order to change the picture that was being outputted or mirrored back to them. And you saw it happen really quick. You might think, how's that possible? The tumor didn't happen in 2 minutes and 45 seconds, but it did disappear in 2 minutes and 45 seconds. That's how quickly these trained professionals can make reality. And, you know, you've heard the expression, your faith has healed you, a biblical expression. So the woman had to believe. She had to be part of the process, because if she didn't believe in the process, then it didn't matter what they were doing. They would not be able to augment her. It was her faith and belief in the process that allowed her to experience the miracle. But they do this every day. So it's not a miracle, it's a science. What's the science? The science is what I've been teaching you. It's alignment with success. You align with a new reality. And you not align only mentally, it has to be emotionally. But you've got to disconnect from the old reality, which is a whole bunch of emotions that you're dragging into this new reality. And it's those emotions that are weighing you down from being able to be faithful to the new picture. So when those emotions stir their head, and they will, especially if you're going after something you've never gone after before, especially if you're surrounded by naysayers and people who don't believe you can do it. You know, they're looking at your past and saying, you know, I love what my mentor Bob Proctor would say. You want to see how people feel about you? Next time you get together for Thanksgiving, clink your glass, say, I'd like to make an announcement, stand up and tell everybody you've decided to become a multimillionaire. Just see how they react. Just see how supportive they are of your idea. And you'll find that many of them are not that supportive. They'll make fun of you, they'll joke at you and so forth. Well, the truth of the matter is, you can be whatever you want to be, but as long as you let other people create in your emotional space and in your mind, you're going to hold back that creation from happening. And so these things that I've been a student of, that I've been studying, that I'm now seeing the physical evidence of, the scientific evidence of, assure me that with a vehicle like Niken, you have the ability to create the life of your dreams, whatever you want. But what will block you from creating that is, number one, you don't choose to create something wonderful. You do it consciously by focusing on what you really, really want. And it's got to involve your heart, or it isn't real. If you're not chasing your passion, you're kidding yourself. Your will doesn't have enough inertia to overcome the past, but your heart does, because it is the wisdom of the ages. It's the wisdom of the ancients. It's the wisdom of the universe operating through you. It does have the ability to overcome the inertia of the past. We just witnessed it. We just saw something inconceivable in the Western Hemisphere happen. So the heart's got to be in it. 2, you've got to make the decision. You've got to change the channel. But it's not changing the channel, flipping it back, changing the channel, flipping it back, changing the channel, flipping it back. It's change the channel and bury the television after that. You know, just until you've seen that picture outputted and you want to move on, you've got to get rid of every other channel that's out there, because they're all out there. Tune into one channel, one station, and then do it means start living as though that's the only reality. When they started saying, hase, 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 the word, he'll tell you, is loosely translated, it is done, it is done, it is done. They kept saying, it is done, it is done, it is done. So what are they saying to themselves? It is done, it is done, it is done. It's an affirmation of it is done, not it will be done. It is done.
Yes.
They're living as though it already happened. And by moving into that space, that frequency, their body's energy changes. And when your body's energy changes and her body's energy change, well, the physical manifestation is simply the mirror of the energy. The language he speaks of is this language that I'm talking about, this alignment. It's the language of the heart. When you move into a frequency and your body is vibrating in that frequency and it's vibrating in its natural state, do you know what our natural state is? Health. That's our natural state. So you can imagine what my position is on wearing a mask. Do I need to say any more? Because I'm not subject to the conditions around me. I'm subject to the conditions within me, and I'm tuned into perfect health, because that is a frequency and nothing can interfere with that. So keep that in mind, that you have the power to manifest things that you can only believe. Like if you watch this video again and convince yourself that this is for real, and then study the works, you'll see that, as I have, that, oh my God, within you is the ability to create whatever outcome you want. So now the question is, what do you want? You know, like we got a beautiful comp plan. You know, that's why I keep telling everybody, go for real diamond. Why the hell would you go for anything less? It's like, you know, go for the filet mignon. Like, why go for the, you know, the strips or the, you know, the hamburger meat? Get the filet, you know, go for the Dom Perignon. Like, why do you want the Henkeltrocken? You know what I'm saying? So it's there. It's the finer things in life. Listen, I don't mind if we go over a little bit. You guys can stay on or jump off, but I want to open the channel up to any conversation right now. What's this inspired in you?
I want to share something, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
So my Chinese is not that good, and they obviously spoke Chinese, and they were actually saying at the very end, it's good and it's gone, and it's good and it's gone, and it's good and it's gone. And so that's why they were manifesting that, and you could just hear it in their voice and how they were saying as we saw it shrink. And so one of the things I always tell, with my children is when there's a negative thought, I'm like, take that back, cancel, take that back. That's not good. So I just tell them, just cancel all the bad thoughts, because if we sit for an extra moment in that negative thought, it's going to destroy us. So we've got to shift that as soon as possible. I just want to share.
Mike, it kind of reminded me of that experience in the HBM class with the people lifting them up in the chair. Yeah, all together. And if that person in the middle didn't believe it, and they were always bigger than the few women that were lifting them up, and they chanted and said the same thing then too.
That was a great thing that we did in HPM, because that little lesson became an anchor for us going forward, right? We remembered how we can work together collectively. And so my conversation with us on Saturday, I talked about the other experiment that was done with over 7,000 people, and they saw a reduction in crimes, war, and everything globally. 72% was the number they measured. And they have done this experiment several times. It's peer reviewed. There's more than 20 documented studies now. The intention experiment book covers a lot of this. So if enough of us can start working with this intentionally, we can create a movement that will literally turn the earth from around earth into God knows what it'd be. Do you know what I'm saying? The paradigm can shift for humanity. And so the idea of collaboration, the idea of health and prosperity, the idea in caring for one another, sharing openly with your heart, inspiring people to go after what is in their heart. Now, these are all good things. These are all ideals that are worth living and teaching and sharing.
Hi, Michael. I would like to talk.
Angelica, nice to see you.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're not in an ice tub right now. For those of you who don't know, she does a lot of cold water stuff. Good for you.
But I was gonna actually talk about it today, like tonight, because of what you're saying. Recently I received a document that is talking about emotional alchemy process. And it's about taking out a trauma in your subconscious, commands. So I can share this with you, and maybe you can share with because it's really very related on what you are. Because I did like an exercise with the person, and it was like all about like, okay, think about something, and something that is heavy on you, and I was thinking about guilty. So, and then she's like, okay, where do you feel that, where is it? I said, I feel it really here, like very heavy. And then after that, we were working on the process of, as you just said, liberating that past thing. Like, where did that come from? That is not me anymore. Like, why do I need this? Like, it's not going to let me go further, And then after that, after a while, I'm doing exercises, and then it became like, okay, now I liberated at least like a 70% for just one time that I was doing the exercise. So I want to really share that with you guys.
Fantastic.
And it's
Wow.
all in it. Yeah.
I think the emotion code is another similar work that people are doing right now. The emotion code, which by the way, you can do with the Nikan roller. You roll somebody's back. So rolling your shoulders with that magnetic roller, the actual magnetic energy helps loosen trapped emotions, which is an energetic signature stored in the physical body. So the magnetics can actually dislodge that.
Mm-hmm. And some other thing you were telling about the quantum idea, you know, at the beginning you were talking about quantum. That's what I'm experiencing in the eyes, because just little thought of not believing in myself or having like a negative thing, saying, oh my God, I'm in the cold, or, you know, having fear or all this emotion. And immediately I'm going to start shaking, you know? So I really have to control that. And thank you very much for giving that example. I'm loving this call tonight. Thank you very much, Mike.
Thank
I
you.
really
Thanks,
appreciate.
thanks, Angelica. Anyone else?
I just sort of think, Mike, like when this tumor is disintegrating in 3 minutes, what that would even feel like. I don't even know if tumors have sensors, or she's so focused with her faith that no matter whether the receptors or not, she doesn't feel it. But, you know, I just thought of that. What does that feel like to have a tumor just, you know, be ripped, you know, go away?
Well, it just dissolved. It just like literally vanished. It faded into nothing. It was like an apparition. It just faded like a ghost. And so again, if you want to get into the high level physics of this, we live in a hologram. What you see is a photon. A photon is literally a hologram. It's an apparition.
Yeah.
What you imagine yourself to be as a human being, as a listen, some of the stuff that I've learned is that there is no such thing as time and space, which means everything and everyone is one thing. And it is all located at the same location and point in space and time, because there is no space and time. It's only here and now. And it's just literally the multiplex. It's like a mirror. It creates it's hard to say, but when you look in the mirror, you're not looking at you don't look at the image in the mirror and say that's me. It's not the real you. It's an impression of you. It's a reflection of you. So when you understand that what's happening is everyone and everything is a reflection of us. It's a mirrored reflection of us. But where's the power of what's being reflected? It's the person, you. It's in your mind. It's in your consciousness. So everything
Mike, I have two things to underline on this. And hey, thanks for tonight. It's just been amazing. I work with a gentleman here in town, and we work with the Rife machine, RIFT, and it's a frequency. I like to just say it's a light machine, but really it's sound frequency. And if you get the right frequency of the cancer cell, it will implode.
Right.
And it's just fascinating and it's phenomenal. But to see that video today was just amazing. I happen to be, so I just wanted to underline that. And then and they've specifically gone for different tumor markers, different sound frequencies. And, you know, we have to be a little under the radar. We don't make claims or anything like that. But it's just been really amazing to work with people with that. But I happened to be about 5 years ago with Greg and there was another, Bruce Lipton. It was Bruce Lipton and Greg Braden together in a talk. And I just was in the audience and they were so over my head with some of the things that they were doing. And then they did this meditation at the end, and I just went somewhere. I was just gone, right? I just went into the meditation and I was, you know, just kind of out of the body. I don't know where I was. And Greg actually came up to me after the end and he said, I just have to ask you, what was it like for you? And I just went, well, I really don't know. I was kind of out of my body. And he says, well, occasionally in these talks, there will be key people on like the triangular corners of the event that just glow and are like fluorescent green and just, you know, like out there. And he goes, and you were one of those. And I said, well, I just let myself go. You know, I don't really know. I wasn't creating anything. I wasn't doing anything. I just knew that I wanted to be at the level that they were and pretty much heal anything going on in my body at the time. So I just thought I'd share that because color for me also is very, very important in healing with color and vibration. And so I just wanted to underline that.
You know, I've had a lot of energy workers, and I'm sure most of us can attest to this, who've had this experience. Energy workers who are very attuned and sensitive to energies of any kind, lie on the pad, a Nikan mattress pad, and they say they can experience energy like they've never experienced. They see it in colors. They start imagining these vibrant colors and so forth. What I've learned from that is simply everything's energy. So it's an alignment. When the energy is a good energy for our body, it brings our body into a coherence. It's all about coherence. And so the idea of thoughts, feelings, and then your behavior, your actions being in alignment is coherence. When you are imagining a future reality for yourself, but your feelings are in opposition to that, there's not coherence. So you're broadcasting into the universe an incoherent message, and therefore you cannot bring into form what you're trying to bring into form. You're not shifting channels. You're surfing both channels at the same time. You've got to, it's like, you know, when we had tune-in dials way back, I'm sure most kids don't know what I'm talking about, but used to have aerials on your television, and you get snow and you'd have to move the antenna a little bit to get that snowy image to be sharp. It's like that. Most people are creating this fog, and that's why they're not manifesting. You know, literally 2 minutes and 45 seconds, we go from one state to another. You know, and the miracles that were performed by Christ noted, those miracles happened in seconds or within minutes for sure, what was reported. So now what you're seeing is the science behind that. The miracle behind that was alignment. You know, Jesus was able to bring alignment and become Christ. And in that alignment with the higher self, that perfect self, tuned into a frequency of it is done. And in the frequency of it is done, was able to influence the people around because those people had faith. And that's why he would always say, your faith is what healed you. He would always acknowledge that the person who actually healed themselves was the individual, but he was the mechanism through which they were able to do that because they had faith in him. They transferred their faith and conviction into his power, and the idea that he had this power, and he would move into the acknowledgement of that power. And there you go. You got the miracle. We just watched that on video.
Well, and to underline the word, because there are no flippant statements. It's like there's a little court reporter out there just writing everything you say. And whatever you say is being put in your future. And so
that's a scary
I
thought, but
always
you're
say,
right.
stop, change, start. If I find myself hooked, I'll just go stop, change, start. And I'll just stop that to start something anew. And that little court reporter, you know, you stop sarcasm, you stop being, you know, and you don't judge anybody, you know, you just say what you want to have in your future. And I'm going to underline something about the Royal Diamond thing, because for me, you did it. There was a few others. I wanted that darn dang jacket, you know, I wanted that coat, and I don't wear those coats, you know, but I wanted to be a part of the team. I wanted to be a part of that group and say, you know what, I can do this. We can do this. I'm getting that coat. And so, like Bob said, I visualized me putting it on. I visualized, and we got it in St. Louis. And I walk in the stage, getting my coat, you know, what it was going to be like.
Let me ask you a question about
my
that, Barbara,
speech.
because you're very animated about that experience. When you were thinking those things, did you know how it was going to come together? Who was going to join your team? No, there's no way to know that.
No, but every day, every morning I got up, like I put that coat on, like I was that. I became that. I was a Royal Diamond. And, you know, I used to say I was a Royal Ambassador before that ever was a rank, you know, but the buck stops with me. Anything that occurred, I handled it. And then I let Nikan do the paperwork. You know, I would handle the swapping out or the whatever needed to occur, because I felt like we needed that out in the field. We needed ambassadors for Nikan. That's who we are. It's actually what we are. We're the voice, the mind, the explanation, the education. And it's okay, guys, to say, I don't really know. But you know what? I know someone who does, and I'll get you that information. It's really okay because you know more than they know at this moment. And so, but, there becomes a trust, there becomes an education. It's all along with that, with Paul Zane Pilzer talked about, right? The movement, that it's not the thing, it's not the whatever it is, it's the, I got my vest on. It's the education of the things that we teach, of the things that we have, that we do, that's going to make the difference, that's going to have us stand apart from all the other companies out there. And that's what you do when you build and you have the zoom ins and the, the fly ins, but the zoom ins and whatever it was. I think now, once we grasp the possibility, the potentiality of connecting right now, face to face, all over the freaking globe on this Zoom, and we get that trust factor, it's going to be exponential. The growth is going to be insurmountable. I jokingly say, I'm their leader, which way they go. You all will be saying that. I just hold that. I know that.
Okay, let's bring this in for landing. So I
Sorry,
want to
I get on a
say,
roll.
thank
Thanks,
you,
Mike.
Barbara. Thank you. Everybody loves it when you speak, so don't be bashful about that. So again, just a tool, because we really need to become conscious creators. We've got to make this as a choice. Your success is not a variable except in your own mind. Whatever you want to experience. And I know you're thinking, well, I'm not experienced. I can tell you this, to the degree that you have applied this is the degree to which you have experienced this. And that woman would not have experienced the elimination of her tumor if she was taking a half measure. If embedded in all of that was doubt. You're all in or you're not. You got to be all in this new reality for yourself. Change the channel and be all in. You just got to be all in. And that means become aware when you're not. Become aware. Heighten the alertness. What would I have to believe to be true about myself in this present situation or circumstance of how I feel, think, or behave? Be aware. When you feel an emotion that is not in alignment with this new channel, this new version of self, this new reality, if it's not in alignment with that, you'll feel it. And this is not about kidding yourself, folks. This is not about deluding yourself. Deluding yourself is imagining that your past is your future. That's a delusion. It's just simply something you're choosing, but you're calling it something else. You're saying, there are circumstances beyond my control. No, they're not. No, there isn't. There actually isn't. Oh, the politics and the this and the that. You think that's out of your control? No, it's not. It has nothing to do with your reality. The world could be falling around you and you could be experiencing a completely different reality. That's what they're telling us. All realities are coexisting. The one where the world is falling to the whatever, and the one where there's a new emerging utopian environment, that exists. That planet Earth and the other planet Earth, doom and gloom, they coexist in the quantum field. Which one are you going to experience? Which am I going to experience is based on what is it that I'm aligned with? What is it that you're aligned with? So don't think for a second that 7 or 8 billion people are locked into one reality. They aren't. There's 8 billion planet Earths happening right now that we are colluding to create an experience of. Which version of that experience is yours? You choose. I know this is a little bit on the higher side of conversations, but honest to God, I don't know what to tell you other than this, because everything else seems to me so inconsequential to this, because this is the rudimentary program that's running everything. All the rest is just, the shades of gray. So hopefully you got something out of this, and thank you for everybody joining, and thank you for those of you who contributed, don't be shy about it. One last comment. I'll open it up to one other person. One last comment. We'll close on that. Michelle.
Mike, yes.
How did I know that?
I always wait till last, right? We've had this conversation, and through the teachings that I've had for my intuition healing has been phenomenal. But I would like to share one experience that I had before I stepped into the shoes of an intuitive healer. I had and I'm going to say it. I'm not making a medical claim, but I'm going to say it. I had a brain aneurysm, and it was, they wouldn't do anything about it. They being medical, and it just come to me. It's done. Whatever's going to happen, it is gone. It's gone. It's gone. And that's how I got involved, because intuitive healers helped me to completely eliminate that aneurysm. So that caught my attention, and I thought, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And the same attitude with Nikan, you know, if they can do it, I can do it. However, this is my path right now, and my mission is to help others eliminate all the minutia that's holding them back. And that is so incredibly powerful. And the people that I have helped to step outside of their box and into their real shoes has been profound. So it can be done, and it's all about intention. It's intention. And exactly like you said, that woman had to believe it. She had to know in her heart that it was done.
And there you go. That's it. Thank you, Michelle. So, folks, there really isn't much more to know. It's just a matter of application. And that means apply it in your life. So what are the tools you have to apply it in your life? You do have a business called Nikan. Put it to the test. You know, go for some of the incentives. I think many of us have made a decision. We're going for Team Kaizen again. If you've never been Team Kaizen, man, go for it. I haven't been Team Taishi. That's new. So I'm going to go for that. And, you know, so many other things will follow. And what does it mean? It means, okay, so I need to break it down to monthly activity. And so now I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to get it done? Well, look, forget that. The mind immediately goes to how. And I just asked Barbara, did you know how? And the answer was no. Mike, did you know how? No. So your mind immediately goes to how. That's what would I have to believe to be true for me to be thinking I need to know how? Well, I don't need to know how. I just need to know why. And then if it's aligned with my heart, the rest comes naturally. So there's no fight in that. So just pay attention to what conjures up in your mind and in your heart, your emotions, whenever you are when you're doing something, because it's either in alignment or it's out of alignment. Grace and peace. Yeah, it's beautiful. All right, guys. Have a great night. Thanks for joining in. I know it was a little long and this recording's gonna be long, but I hope it was worth your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.